I boil it down to this. Before this is all said and done, Patrick, I honest to God believe that he or she who loses least wins. We're all going to get hit on this. If
Yeah.
things collapse the way that I think they will, and I think the way they want them to incite the Great Reset, to level the playing field so most of the public who lost everything, remember, most of the debt's owed to us, says, fine, I'll take the CBDC as long as you're
No.
making me whole, I'll sign on the dotted line. There has to be an event that makes people want the CBDC. And I really do believe that that is what they are trying to orchestrate by culling of the banks, by fraying the world reserve status, the petro status, and dividing.
Today, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank is prepared to raise rates further at the annual Jackson Hole Economic Symposium in Wyoming. While inflation has come down from its peak, Powell believes that it is still too high and that the central bank will continue to tighten. During this announcement, the stock market, gold, silver, and Bitcoin experienced volatility, causing the markets to move lower before moving back up. According to Andy Schectman, CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, the possibility of an economic reset is imminent, and that holding gold, silver, and Bitcoin gives you the ability to preserve your wealth when the system starts crashing.
So if you wanted to lose the world reserve status as the lead economic advisor this country talks about, the first thing you do is weaponize the dollar. The second thing you do is push away Saudi Arabia, but it's bigger than that. Look what's happening inside this country. I'm a patriot. I grew up in this country, not wealthy. I started a company with my father in 1990 on a wing and a prayer. My dad's middle name is Miles. His best friend who lent us $60,000 to start the company, his middle name was Franklin. And we come from nothing in a one-room office, borrowing money to start a company on a dream. And we recently eclipsed $9 billion in sales. So I want you to understand, by never having a customer complaint, mind you, that I love this country and everything it stands for. But when I look at it, I am more disturbed by what I see happening in this country than anything I see outside of it. It is very clear to me what we are doing outside the country, in my opinion, is preordained. This is what they want to do. They want to reset the system because we're 155 trillion in debt with 5 trillion in assets, of which 40% of that is student debt. The largest asset in this country is student debt. We are a banana republic at 130% GDP, debt to GDP. We are sailing in a sea of uncharted waters, and the final chapter is yet to be written. But I do believe if you are not a contrarian, you will be a victim. And the one common denominator that all three, gold, silver, and Bitcoin have, it's a contrarian play. And I think you must look at the world in a different light right now, because what I see, not even with the mismanagement of the dollar and the world reserve status, if it were just that, I could deal with it. Americans do real well when their back is against the wall. We would have figured a way out of it. But when I see what they're doing to this country, to the judicial system, to law and order, to the way that we have to celebrate. I come from a world where my parents were hippies. I learned to respect everyone and everything. You know, you want to do drugs behind your door, do it. You want to, whoever you're with when your doors are closed, I don't care. What you dress up as, I don't care. But now we're forced to celebrate it. And this whole thing of erosion of the fabric of this country, law, order, the nuclear family, all of these things that we have to bow down to, it's eroding what this country stands for. And more than anything, it has eroded our ability to be united in a common cause. And that is to build back, or to do something great, to take back our country, our liberties, our freedoms. All of these things, the World War II vets, that era, well, they were all united and patriotic and believed in this country in a way that is lacking right now. And I'm concerned. I'm very afraid. I will tell you this, it doesn't matter what you're in. It doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin, if it's silver, it's gold. As long as it's not completely and totally in dollars, you have a leg up. You take your profits in Bitcoin. Let's say you start with $10,000 in Bitcoin, and every time it gets to 13,000, you take 3,000 off, you buy silver and gold with it. Every time you keep your exposure to Bitcoin, you take your profit, and it's like putting chips at the blackjack table in your pocket. So no matter what happens with the money on the table, when you get to the cage at the end of the night, you got a pocket full of chips. That's the idea, is to always take those profits out and methodically add it to something that is building wealth in a different asset class, but yet cut from the same cloth, at least in terms of ideology.
And what happens when Bitcoin tanks to $10,000? Should that happen? Well, looks like you got a lot of silver to sell. You've stacked a little bit of that along the way. Time to buy some Bitcoin.
That's exactly right. Asset classes have cycles, and that's how you take advantage of them. The mistake most investors make is that they ride things up and they ride things down, and they are married to their own beliefs. And that's normal. That's human nature. But if you're disciplined and do something like this in a regimented fashion, yeah, you are mitigating the risk. You are giving yourself a better chance at walking away from the table with chips in your pocket. That's really the idea. But, Patrick, like I said, I respect and I understand, I acknowledge, and I understand that gold and silver aren't the only places to put your money. And quite frankly, to me, the one thing Bitcoin has done that I was always worried about as a younger guy in this industry is how are we going to wake people up who are younger and your age and younger? And, I'm 53. I'm on the young end of people who traditionally buy gold and silver. Typically, it's from my age up. Well, what Bitcoin has done is it's woken people up to what fiat currencies are, to the pitfalls of them, to the pitfalls of what deficit spending is. And all of these, the reasons to buy Bitcoin are the same reasons to buy gold and silver. So we should acknowledge and respect both, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. Hedge your bet a little bit.